When he arrived in Saudi, he knows, he can tell you again himself. I'll give you his number later so you can ring him. Ask him how he was treated by the brothers, how he was put up and how he got his papers processed and everything like that, and he's calm, is he calmer? When he left with his visa, with the visa in his passport, he insisted on taking the Iqama. I advised him against this. I said it's illegal to take Iqamas out of the country. When you get your passport back, you've got to give the Iqama in. It's standard procedure in Saudi that this is the way things are done. It's illegal. But he wanted to show this to friends and family and whatever. Anyway, some may say he doesn't have to follow the laws of Saudi. Those of you who hold the Saudi country to be a non-Muslim country, those with that extreme deviated belief again, I'd ask, if it was a non-Muslim country, why did Bilal want to come and live here in the first place? And I'd ask that of yourselves as well. Anyway, it's clear that individuals like that, those who support Bilal and have circulated this secret crime that they've done, it's clear that they don't like following any laws, and they use Islamic laws to justify the criminality and the acts that they do around the country and wherever it is they may be, under the guise that the place they're living in is Dar al-Harb. Just going off at a tangent at the moment, look at these individuals and look at their dawah and their call. They make you hate everything, the society you live in, which does have its problems, and they make you hate the Muslim countries, which they tell you are not Muslim countries. So basically there's nowhere where you can have an attachment or affinity to, even the land which has the Haramain. Even the land that has the Haramain, which it has its problems as well. What they want you to do is hate everywhere, so that you can have the same hatred that they have, and the bitter, twisted understanding of the religion that they have, so that they can make you go and do extremist actions. That's the likes of the takfiris, that's the likes of how some of them are. Anyway, when Bilal got back to the UK, he asked for help with regards to renewing his application for his passport. He rang from the passport office asking me to speak to an assistant there to explain that I had my Muslim and non-Muslim name in my passport, and he wanted to do likewise. I spoke to the assistant and obliged, as the brother asked me to do. I found out later he wasn't able to do that. At all this time, all these stages, those of you who've got sense and those of you who are balanced, note the brotherliness that was shown to this individual and ask yourself the question, why did he do this secret recording? He would say, to expose them man. It's funny, it's like a man telling a man, you know what, your shirt's undone, without looking at himself in the mirror and seeing that his trousers are undone. When Bilal decided to next travel in Ramadan, he was coming out for the last 10 nights, he called me from Heathrow in the evening. And we were preparing, we got the apartment ready for him, furnished apartment which he stayed in free of charge before. We had brothers there getting it ready for him, getting ready to meet him at the airport. He rang me and he said he can't come at the moment, he's been arrested. I asked him for what? He's been arrested for carrying a concealed weapon or trying to carry a concealed weapon onto the plane. Anyway, we won't go into that, that's a pending case. He can explain that to you again. He explained to me his passport and other documents had been seized, like the Iqama document, which he shouldn't have taken out of Saudi in the first place. I'd ask this, or I'd state this, as for his being arrested for attempting to carry a weapon upon a plane to a Muslim country such as Saudi, this is particularly disturbing. The hadith of Ibn Umar and in Bukhari and Muslim comes to mind. Whoever holds up a weapon against us is not from us. So if it's illegal to carry a weapon into Saudi Arabia and an arrestable offence, what could have possessed our brother to have done that? Okay, he forgot. Okay, we forget, yeah? Okay, I'll leave that to you who's listening. Also, the hadith of Abu Hurairah comes to mind. None of you should point a weapon at your Muslim brother, for he does not know whether shaitan will cause him to hit his brother with it and end up in the pit of hell. So, again, the question has to be asked, why on earth did he try and board a plane with a knife? His own actions led to the present problems he's facing now. If he didn't have the problems that he's facing now, you never would have heard a secret recording in an attempt to ensnare or lead a brother into a question. The brother works for the civil service. He's worked for the civil service for a number of years. Thousands of Muslims work for the civil service, and they're doing very good work in the civil service, making situations better for Muslims, just like those who work in the legal profession. Bilal, you've got a lawyer. You've had a lawyer on a number of occasions. They have to go to the courts, and they have to administer the law of that land, which is not Sharia-based. Do you say the same things about them, that it's haram for them to work in the legal profession, yet you use them? Again, when it comes down to yourselves, there's a different law for you and a different law for everybody else. Continuing. Bilal gave me his solicitor's number so that I can ask what could be done about the return of the Iqama. Why? For two reasons. The Iqama being there would cause problems for Bilal's entrance back into this country, Saudi Arabia, once it was known that he'd taken it. Two, it could potentially cause problems for other brothers who are working in the same company. And myself. Maybe there'd be some problem. I've established there wouldn't be a problem for me. So these are the reasons we wanted it back, so that Bilal would be able to enter the country easily again. I spoke to a brother and got his advice, the one who was recorded in the recording, because he works for civil service. I said, can anything be done? Do you know what we should do? What should I do? He said to me, ask Bilal to write a disclaimer letter. I don't think Bilal maybe knew what that meant, but a disclaimer letter. So the message was passed on because I couldn't get hold of Bilal. He said he had written the letter. When I got hold of Bilal, he told me directly himself. Wallahi, he said to me, I wrote the letter the next day and gave it to my solicitor. Now, again, we know about the deception on getting the so-called certificate to study abroad. He lied again in this instance. He lied again. Remember the ayah in Surah Hujurat, when a lying, sinful person comes to you. Anyway, when I was told by Bilal that he'd written the letter, I went back to the same brother in the conversation. I said, he's written the letter, his lawyer said they'd write to the police to get back the property, because what? That property is not Bilal's property. Like, for those of you who believe the conversation, that his property was being spied upon, the passport, the British passport, and if my understanding is correct, the passport in any country is not the property of the individual whose name is in that passport. And those who are in the legal profession can correct me if I'm wrong, and those of you who work in government can tell me if I'm wrong. But that passport belongs to the government. So Bilal, the only possession that was yours of what had been seized was that thing for which you'd been arrested for. And maybe another document, the provisional driving license, that maybe was yours as well. But the passport and the Iqama was never your property. And the brother in trying to help out, to say, can we get the Iqama? Can we speed up the process? Speaking to fellow civil servants and colleagues, you're saying, as you said in your conversation, Abdul Haq told me that you work with the feds. No, Bilal, I never told you that, because I'd be lying on a brother if I said he works for the feds. But then you got it right shortly afterwards. Abdul Haq told me you worked in the civil service. So which one was it, Bilal? In your enthusiasm to record the brother, you didn't ask the right question. And it's clear that from your conversation with him, you weren't even listening to what he was saying. You were basically just writing or reading off a narrative that whoever was in the background with you had given you. Anyway, when I found out, the brother advised me and said, yeah, with the visa, I don't know if the process can be speeded up. You're going to have to speak to his solicitor. Why? Because I don't think the Iqama's there. I rang Bilal immediately and asked him, do you know about the Iqama? Do you know it's not there? And he said, what do you mean it's not there? How did you get this information? I said, I spoke to our brother. Our brother can ask friends who work in Heathrow or wherever from the civil service and whoever they may contact about it to speed up the process of getting the visa back over so that you don't have a problem, so that the brothers them, the man's them, don't have a problem. So what did he do? He became defensive. He moved away from the subject and, nah, what do you mean it's haram to work for the government? Bilal, if it's haram to work for the government, how does the story of Surah Yusuf alayhi salam grab you? That Yusuf rose to the highest position alayhi salam in government. The highest position in government in Egypt at the time, Misr at the time, under the rulership of a non-Muslim. And the rest of the people around him were non-Muslim. How does the story of An-Najashi, the Negus of Abyssinia at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, how does that grab you as well, Bilal, and those of you who in your excitement think you've got something against Brixton? No, it's nothing against Brixton. It's related to myself, Bilal, and the brother concerned. How does that grab you, that he took Shahada and he ruled over a non-Muslim people and non-Muslim government? How do those stories grab you, Bilal? Did you think about that when you were saying it's haram to work in government? Thousands of Muslims work in government, as I've said, and they're doing very good jobs administratively and managerially. They're not in the position to argue against the oppressive foreign policy of the government, which I say again is oppressive. They're not in the position to stop and change that. Neither are you, neither am I. All we can do is voice it and make it known that we disagree, just like many of the people in society do. But you don't like that, do you?